Good morning. Today is Thursday. It's February 18th, and this is a conversation with Dr. Dan Matthews. And I'm just going to turn it right over to him for whatever updates he has on what's happening in our world. So you're up.
Okay, Letty, you might want to announce your number for people to text questions on.
Okay, I'll repeat. If you want to text the question, it's 713-622-8900. 713-622-8900.
Very good. Right. Here we go.
Welcome, everyone. I'm honored to be in your presence today. I'm sitting up here in Little Rock, and it's 13 degrees, and we got 22 inches of snow this week. So I've been having lots of fun getting out and trying to keep my driveway cleaned off. And I'm very thankful that my four-wheel drive truck actually will get me around if I need to go somewhere. But I've been just staying close to home and just kind of doing a lot of grazing, probably like a lot of everybody else. But I did get the next information in for the group healing that's coming up this Sunday, and I thought I'd mention that for everyone. The last three group healings, one time we did the postulates of truth, last time it was the postulates of wisdom, and this time it's the 6 postulates of integrity. And integrity turns out to be honor plus responsibility. And this involves 6 of our 8 levels of consciousness. The unconscious and subconscious are not a part of this. But starting with our conscious mind, it has a connection with the integrity processes of being connected to the divine flow of life. And then our collective of mass conscience, the consciousness we share with others when we communicate, and also the consciousness that we perceive the world we live in, will have a connection to our telepathy body, which is a nonverbal specialty body of our divine presence that allows us to communicate our own thoughts and feelings to others and feel confident that they got it right and we feel communicated, and the ability to reciprocate with them. And this is the origin of our empathy and intimacy, and that's a great connection to have with our collective of mass conscience. And then moving on up the ladder, our Christ consciousness and integrity connects to the 999th paradigm of absolute knowing. And, our Christ consciousness is actually the bridge that bridges from human belief to the knowing of our inner holiness. And it's through trusting, trusting in our inner holiness that leads us to this 999th paradigm of absolute knowing. And then our cosmic consciousness connects to the 33rd paradigm of absolute truth. Our goddess consciousness connects to our sacred path, and our androgyne consciousness connects to our life purpose. And that brings all levels of our upper 6 levels of consciousness and these 6 postulates of integrity into the trinity of oneness of humanity, the holy old earth, and the inner earth. So this is a further attribute of our virtues to bring forth our holy order that is all about the new holy old earth that we will enter once we complete our purge.
Dr. Dan, yes. Let me interrupt for a minute.
Yes.
Somebody's really moving around and causing a lot of static on the line. So if you would please, I think you can *6 and mute yourself. Whoever's doing dishes or banging around the kitchen or scratching the dog. That's better. Thank you. Okay.
All right.
Go ahead. Sorry.
And let's see, I kind of lost where I was at. Well, anyway, any questions so far?
I have one question that came in from the previous call, and it had back to the subject of the portals. Why do we seem to be finding more portals lately?
Well, simply because our consciousness is expanding and we're making bigger pictures of life, and that uncovers things that were hidden to us in lower consciousness. And that's one of the wonderful things about ascension, is you discover aspects of creation that had been dormant in lesser consciousness. But now that we're ascending, things are we're becoming aware of things that used to be hidden. That would be my answer to that.
Okay. I have two follow-ups to that. The second one is, what exactly is the operation of the portal?
Well, the portal is stationed by the very highest of consciousness crystal light beings, and these beings sift through the debris of your purge. And if it's fractures and pieces of your former holiness, they are cleared and cleansed and returned to you in their holy order. If it's components of the model of one, it's sent back to the system of one outside of the 9 clusters. And so there is no junk pile or graveyard of broken shadow stuff. It all is recycled. And thanks to the crystal light beings for their service. Okay, that's
okay. Anything else you could add about the technical parts of the portals?
Yeah, the main one you need to know is you do not have to worry about that. That's not your part. Your part is to practice the parable of being a Christed being. And if you get analytical and try to do things over your head, you're going to get stuck. So my advice is to leave the technical stuff to the beings of higher consciousness, the light beings. And as you do your parable of Christ consciousness, knowing will be revealed to you. So that's how you actually get it. You don't get it by asking questions. You get it by living the parable of being a Christed being. Okay?
Okay. You want to? I don't think it ever hurts to repeat. You want to give us a review of living the parable, what those daily steps are for all of this?
Yes. Well, there's 2 things you need to possess in order to overcome your issues. One of them is ownership of your issue. Quit blaming it on things outside of you and accept the ownership of it. I've never seen a person have a problem that didn't play a part in it. And there may be other reasons external to them that they have the problem, but they connect to it somehow, and that's where they have to start owning it. And the second one is you have to want victory over the problems more than you got to be right or win, because you can't have both. And when people get triggered by their beliefs, they always choose being right and winning. When they cool off and come back to their senses, they might realize that, hey, I'd rather overcome this than be right and winning. And that's the attitude, that's the posture you have to assume. But these components of the Christ parable, the first one is forgiving yourself for trying to fix it and figure it out yourself. That's the little you. That's the part of you governed by your negative ego that does fear, pain, and punishment to you. And that's the most common reaction people have when a problem comes into their life. They try to figure it out and fix it themselves. You know, that might work with the copier or the dishwasher or the lawnmower, things that man makes. You know, man's world is a world of knowing what you're doing, taking pride in your work, and being smart and analytical. But the natural world of ascension, health and wellness and your happiness are a totally different thing. The intelligence that makes those things happen comes included. And you never have to duplicate it with your educated brain. You just have to learn how to be in harmony with things to gain the benefit. I like to say you're better off with a green thumb in the natural world than you are a PhD in photosynthesis, because the PhD in photosynthesis is actually not your part. The green thumb is. And this is a way of the natural world. And so the first step of Christ consciousness is owning your problem. The second one is surrendering it to your inner holiness to be dealt with, and that is your higher power. That part of you is 100% conscious and knows all of life, and to pay for that in full and for it to work for you beautifully, all you got to do is yield to the will of your inner holiness, meaning follow the whispering voice and gut knowing, and thirdly, show up in your day without apprehension and worry, and take your next step in trusting the divine flow of life. And that will open a miracle into your life. And the most amazing things will come your way. Opportunity, goodness, and even knowing comes through the parable of Christ consciousness. In fact, that's how you get connected to your inner holiness, is through living the parable. And that's the only place in God's green earth that knowing comes from, is your inner divinity. The best that humans can do through their education and devotion to a path, or you develop an area of expertise in your life, and you acquire understanding from that. And both knowing and understanding, you can heal ignorance, which is the Achilles heel of humanity. And then things beyond that, things in life that you neither know or understand, that falls under the umbrella of belief consciousness. And that's the weakest of the three forms of fuel of our consciousness. And belief, when it came on the scene of this earth, it was through the belief generators of institutions like religion, and it was designed to raise the beings of this earth that were barbaric out of the first and second paradigm up to the third. It was the greatest thing the world had ever seen. It brought the beings of unbelief up to the third paradigm, and their first step of ascension is to get indoctrinated with an authority of a higher power, and that's going to be through the belief process. And it worked wonderful. It separated them from the first and second paradigm. Well, that's the characteristic of belief consciousness. It causes people to separate because of differences. It causes us to only see the little picture, and it causes people to run from being responsible. And so, even though belief was a wonderful thing when it came on the scene, and it still can have, you can have positive beliefs, that's for sure, and they're much, much better for you than a negative one, but it's still going to be about the parts of life you neither know or understand. And it's through the process of belief, when taken to the negative side, that opens the portal for us to be misled and lied to. And unfortunately, that's a lot of what's going on right now, especially through our social media. It's belief is pretty much, there is some understanding on there too. You can look up how to do something and fix it, by a YouTube thing or whatever. That's understanding. But all of the conflict in society of, the divide of the left and right, that's all belief stuff. And it leads to hardened feelings and bad actions that people do. And so it demonstrates that it's not for goodness. And so you got to be aware of that kind of thing. And my grandfather, who I consider a wise man, he used to have a saying that the most ignorant people are the most opinionated, and that idiots give advice on things they neither know or understand, and fools take it. And so you want to make sure you're not on the low end of that stick, or you'll be headed for a lot of trouble. misinformation and falsehoods is always communicated through belief consciousness. So you got to beware, and then you'll do pretty good. Okay?
Okay, good. Let me repeat the number if you have a question for Dr. Dan. The number is 713-622-8900. 713-622-8900 for any questions. And it can be a question from what we're talking about today or from the previous calls or just one that you have in general. So be watching for the questions. I have a question here. When you're doing a private session on the phone with some of us, are you hearing things? Are you getting direction? Or exactly what is the communication that's going back and forth during that 30-minute session we're having? What is it like for you? Because you're pretty quiet.
Yeah. Well, what I'm doing is, tell me their problems and what's going on with them, and I'm normally looking when they're telling me. I use I dowse with leg length evaluation, and I'm very good at it because I did it for 20 years as a chiropractor before I got on this path. And my method of when I was a chiropractor, I was connecting with people's innate intelligence to get the treatment of the day. And after I had my experience, it became connecting with their inner divinity through that same process. And so my gift as a servant is to do the will of people's inner divinity. And where two people are gathered, me and the surrogate, when it's on the phone, and talking to the person we're working on, it comes through loud and clear. And it's interesting. It's not like hearing a voice. It's like all of a sudden I know things, and when I check it with the leg length evaluation, I get yes and no. And having done this for a long time, I've become skillful at it. And I kind of move through things pretty quick, and I kind of see what's happening. And then, for 3 or 4 or 5 minutes, it'll be quiet, and I'm doing all the calculations and getting the time coordinates and the dates of insult to whatever it is we're healing. And that's what I'm actually doing. And what I'm finding in this day and age is that we are definitely in the age of the great purge, that people are purging ancient harm to them that was from traumas of long ago, and serious traumas, tribal warfare in the Dark Ages, the Spanish Inquisition and the Knights of the Templar and the Napoleonic Wars, all this kind of stuff comes out of people that it's being triggered right now by what they're seeing in the world around them. And that stuff is actually much worse than what they're experiencing today in the world around them, but it's bringing all this back, and it's causing people to have a weighted response. They're responding to what all this accumulation is, and they're looking at this thing that's really not near as bad on the scale of what they're responding to. And so I'm erasing a lot, 3, 4, 5 dates that people are carrying off of a complaint that they're having today. And it's really just them purging their downfall world. It's an opportunity for you to remove from you what you've been carrying from ages that has caused you great harm. So as you get that stuff cleaned off of you, it's amazing. It's kind of like throwing the rocks out of your pocket and the hot air balloon takes off. Your ascension will take off as you start removing the damage that you carry from the darkness of your shadow. It's really quite an amazing thing to see. Okay?
Okay. And if someone gets on the call and they go, my life is working fine, I really don't have any complaints, how do you proceed from that?
Well, normally when that happens, which is rare actually, most people want treatment when they're got problems, and they have to kind of have a heads up on it. The other way, what happens is you work on advancing their consciousness. It'll be blessings on, like the relationship of your androgyne consciousness with your sacred path, or it'll be things of that nature that their ramifications are actually in the higher realms of your divine consciousness. And so you make a lot of advancing into higher consciousness if you do it like that. And that's probably 10 to 15% of what I see in people. That's not the norm. That's kind of the exception. Okay.
Okay. And when you're actually doing the work, we hear all these numbers, all the numbers and this to that number. What can you tell us a little bit more about what's going on then with the calculations?
Yeah. Well, let's say like if you have an issue of the relationship of your unconscious to your flesh body, for example, what would wind up being is you'd have 4 or 5 incidents from your past that has dumped into your unconscious. And so your unconscious in the shadow world is the gateway to the underworlds, where the carnage of your past lives and your lineage pattern is stored there. And when your unconscious in your shadow world gets traumatized, it will release that carnage. And the instant I'm describing here would be like into your flesh body. And it would be an origin of a lot of issues that are going on in your flesh. And by getting the numbers that go with that, I'm doing a complete cleaning. And so we use numbers to state the intensity of the clearing. And we usually go to the future and see what we're really doing. You see, all of your human stuff is on the universal model. All of your divinity is on the 9-cluster model. Well, the 9-cluster model of the All That Is of the Holy O has 62 million universes in it. And the particular one that we're in here, 1/10 of it was fractured off in order to create the universe to house the human school of understanding that we call the downfall world. That's a much smaller matrix, and the way life works is that you can take a broken matrix and make it a part of a bigger one and heal its fractures and make it whole again. But you can't fix it at the same level it was created. It just doesn't work. So because we all had a divine origin and a holy order in the ancient world before we became human, we have the records of all of that inscripted into the crystal lattice of our spirit body. And you see in the 9 clusters there's over 6 billion Earths, and those Earths exist in all times, future, past, everything like that, and they all exist right now. So we just go to the place that your inner holiness tells us to. And see, this healing is on your morphic templates. This is your electromagnetic field, the microcosm of the cosmos that each person is. And what we do is we take out the damaged morphic templates, go to the future, correct it, bring it back and put it back into your spectrum. And everything about you is copied from that, see? And it starts a massive healing process in you. And also at the same time, it allows your consciousness to expand. And expanding consciousness allows you to see life at a new perspective with greater understanding. And from that, you just see things differently and change your mind and get over obstacles that are plaguing you. And it's coming from within. It feels really good to overcome your own problems. So this is a method of allowing your inner holiness to speak to your needs to heal your human shadow side so that you can ascend and become the holy being that you was created to be. And so that's kind of the way it works.
Okay. And what about when you do that, O alpha, O omega?
Yeah, that...
what is that a key to something? Is it unlocked?
It is. It is. It's a key to unlocking the door that you need to go through in order to do the healing. If the door is closed, you can't get in there, and you have to go through the Celtic loop to get the door to open. Okay?
Okay. Is that door, is that like a portal? Is that what you mean by door?
Yeah. Yeah, it's I just call it a door. You know, it's the door to the control panels or to the control room. You got to get in there and then let spirit take over, but you have to get it to open up, and that's the purpose of the Celtic loop.
Okay. Anything else about Celtic loop? I mean, what you'll say, like there are 3 Celtic loops to...
Yeah, I can tell you what they are.
Sure.
The alpha is your soul, the omega is your spirit, and the iota is your presence. They're called the Trinity icons of your soul, spirit, and presence. That's what they call them. And it's alpha, omega, iota, and they'll be in a specific order in order to get the door open on what they want you to work on.
Okay.
Access. Yeah, that makes sense.
It's sort of, before it's always just sort of been a big mystery and not quite. I mean, it helps to have a little insight into what's going on, just to figure it out. Okay. Well, we have a question that just came in, and it is: Did you say that we are each part of a soul family of 250?
I did say that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You go through your incarnation with them.
Okay.
And you beat each other up. You know, you have all of your life experiences with your soul family, and you do have a spirit family. The soul family is a 6 paradigm experience. The the soul family is 6 paradigm. The spirit family is a 12th paradigm. And you only got 6 of those. You're the 7th, and those people are normally the people that you know as soon as you meet them, or you fall in love at first sight, or it's that kind of relationship. It's definitely you're very easy with that person. It's like everything just seems to click for some reason. The soul family thing, on the other hand, can be very conflicting, and depending on, the kind of life you have, or, people that are in conflict with their family and stuff. Well, they've been in each other's lives millions of times. And you change gender and relationship and all of that stuff with your soul family. So.
Okay, so we have 250 in our soul family. Do we have how many in the spirit family? Any idea, or is it just unlimited?
Yeah, there's 7. You're the 7th one, so you got 6 other members to that.
In the spirit family,
there. Yeah, 6 in this. There's 7 of you all together. You're one of them, so you got 6 other ones besides yourself.
Okay, so I could maybe look to see who my 6 tormentors in my life, and that might reveal my spirit family.
But I don't really want to spend time getting all this stuff for people. Used to people want to know how many Earth years old they were and what sacred animal their DNA related to. The next thing you know, 15 minutes of their session's gone. Mm-hmm. So I don't. I used to do all that stuff for people, but it just got to be too much above and beyond giving them a treatment. That's really what it's about. The main thing people need to focus on is living the parable. They need to take all the energy of their mind about asking a bunch of questions about stuff that they're really not in charge of, and they need to focus on what they're responsible for, and that's living the parable. You get real good at that, this other stuff will come to you. You'll get knowing if you do the parable. If you go on a question answering spree, you're going to wind up with parts of this stuff that's really not your part, and it's not helping you along your way. So you got to be careful about all that. And with your inner holiness, it'll take you on a daisy trail to teach you about stuff like that. I've been on them. And you're a lot better off if you just focus on what your part is. And if you do that, it's amazing that you get all these freebies that's really better than anything you could have asked or figured out. So you just have to learn to trust that. And so it makes it a lot easier. It's hard enough just to do the part of this that we're responsible for. We get lots of help. If we got the right attitude and we have understanding and we don't get off on a daisy trail, we can travel really fast and get through the hard part of ascension. But it's coming along really well, and we're in the thick of it right now, man. It's and throw this 1 week of Arctic weather on top of us, and it's really got things stretched thin for people. And so I'm really praying for warmer weather and start getting easier for people.
Okay, got another question here.
All right.
From these clearings, the physical body must heal from its fractures. Why do some have such exhaustion healing from these damages?
Well, I tell you, it's because your body heals maximally when you rest. Sleep is the ultimate. And so if you're in a heavy-duty healing cycle, you're going to be tired. And if you understand that, you're going to let yourself rest. It'll make it a lot easier. Don't want to fight it. And, humans and our attitudes about all of that are not centered on the biorhythms of the earth and what's good and healthy for the planet. It has a totally different process that it goes by, and it's not usually in harmony with the divine flow, and it makes it real hard on people, or they feel guilty that they're so tired or not getting anything done. Well, your mind is very important to be on board with your healing process and to understand what you're going through so that it's not interfering with your body's ability to heal itself. But if you don't understand and you're having lots of fear and you don't understand that when you heal naturally, your body has to go backwards through things that it's previously had, you'll think new things are going wrong with you. It's really intense like that for people at first. You really have to coach people through healing, and normally more than once, because people don't learn one time. You usually got to do things 4 or 5 times, and then they start catching on. But we're not taught these things, and we live in a society where we're supposed to just forfeit our health to the healthcare model of the doctor's thing. Well, that's a good thing in terms of treating disease and disorders and survival, but it's not a good thing in order of health and wellness and living a high quality of daily life. They don't teach you how to eat correctly and what supplements to take to keep your body healthy, your immune system charged up, and they don't tell people to take a product to increase the integrity of their mucous membranes, where you catch all of the bacteria and viruses. They'd rather treat the disease that you get from that. And so people have a lot of disinformation and just plain old ignorance about actual natural healing and getting healthy and well. So they tend to fight the whole process with their mind talk of being in fear and thinking something new's going wrong, and makes it difficult. So you got to go through this a few times with somebody coaching you that knows what they're doing to get your thinking right, so that you can heal with dignity and grace and not be your own worst enemy. Okay?
Okay. A follow-up to that was, will all this exhaustion and healing, is that going to lessen as we clear more and get our bodies more clear, like difference between healing from a major surgery versus a minor procedure?
Yes, exactly. And it's a path that you're going to get better every day, every week, every month, every year. And it's going to get better. But when you first start out, you need guidance, someone coaching you through it and telling you what's happening to you and what kind of supplementation and nutriments you need to help you get through all of that. And, you definitely need a health and wellness coach to help you with all of that, because you're not going to get that from the medical system. It's not what they do, and they do a good job and stuff is, but treating disease and disorders and knowing how to promote health and wellness, those two fields are about as similar as moon rocks and buttermilk. They don't have anything to do with one another. So it's a whole different thing. But you will get better. Your energy will come back as your body heals, and we're entering. This is the season to detoxify our bodies, our minds, our spirits, our souls, and it's the season of Lent, and it's the most correct time of year. You're in harmony with the biorhythms right now to detoxify your body, and I actually started my 90-day herbal detox yesterday that I've done since I was 30 years old. Back then I had terrible springtime allergies, and that kind of stuff doesn't bother me at all anymore. But you have to cleanse your body. Annually is the best, and this is the time of year to do it. You want to do it when the days are getting longer. You never want to detoxify when the days are getting shorter. It'll make it twice as hard on you. So, that's to consider too. Okay?
Right. Lent. This is, I'm getting ready to start the Master Cleanser fast for Lent.
All right.
But given that we can't we're kind of frozen in here. It's delayed. It was supposed to start yesterday, but instead I'm doing stress management eating.
Well, that's a good thing. It's almost like New Year's resolutions, things you do to kind of a rudder check to get your being on a better track. And, the quality of the environment on the inside of your body is really important. That's where you live and die. And so you have to tend to that. We live in a toxic, hostile world, and your body acts like a filter. It accumulates impurities from the outer. And you have to have a method and a system to deal with that before you get older and start having problems because of it. So it can all be done, and it's all about a higher quality of daily living is the reason why. Okay?
Okay, I'm going to repeat that. We need some questions, curious people. The number to text is 713-622-8900. 622-8900. And we've got another 20 minutes, and if it's a question for you, probably we want to hear it. It's probably a question for us too. So don't be shy. Bring it on. Bring it on. So you're doing another session this Sunday. That's right, Dr. Dan? You have another blessing?
Yes, the virtue of integrity will be integrated into humanity and the holy earth and the inner earth. And, of course, everyone that participates, your sacred gifts will be utilized to accomplish this task. And so it's a beautiful thing, and everybody can participate. It's kind of a vehicle that allows people to utilize their sacred gifts to improve life for the trinity of humanity, the earth, and the inner earth.
And I believe you can get that information at holydivinehealingstore.com. If you're not getting the emails directly, you can go to holydivinehealingstore.com and sign up, pay for the session, and then get on the call Sunday. I believe it's 2:00 Central Time.
Yeah, it's always 2:00 Central on Sunday, and you can sign up to get the little letter that I send out a half a week in advance, kind of telling what we're going to do. And you sign up at the store there. There's a place to do that, and then you got to go down to the bottom and verify that you signed up. Otherwise, it'll go in the spam, and you won't ever get it. So, beware of that. But a lot of people have got it navigated and figured out, and it works for them great. And hopefully, and if anybody has any problems, all you got to do is give Vicki a call. She's the troubleshooter, and her number is 501-416-1998. And if you don't do computers, you can call Vicki at that number, 501-416-1998, and just tell her that you want the PIN and the number and mail her a check. You can do that for people that aren't computer savvy. So we try to make it possible for anyone that reaches out. If you seek it, we'll be there for you.
Okay. I have one question. If say I know people who've been to your sessions and maybe they're not on the call, can I call their name and bring them in energetically to connect them to it, whether they're on the call or not?
Certainly. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Oh, good. We're getting some questions here. Yay. Okay, first question. Any insight on how things might look between now and this coming September? Just in general, or do you think they're going to get more intense? Or?
Well, there's going to be more purging, and the institutions of humanity are going to be doing it a lot, along with individual people. And but if you live in the bigger picture of higher consciousness, you can get through this with some dignity and grace, and you can perceive the purpose of the purge and have great hope for the holy order to come, and that's real pacifying in these times. What happens, people will get triggered by what's going on outside of them, and it's through old things that they carry that they're unaware of, and it'll get triggered, and they're all going to be belief, consciousness, origin, and that's going to cause you to only be able to see the little picture. And that happens to everybody occasionally. You kind of take a tumble down into the little picture, and boy, it's pure chaos, and no one can see their way out, and people tend to do a lot of blaming and finger pointing down there. And so it's a messy place to be. You don't want to stay there too long, and really all you ever have to do is surrender it to your higher power. That's kind of the easy button. Surrender it. Take ownership of what's coming up in you. It wouldn't come up in you if it wasn't yours. And you surrender. You take ownership, and then you surrender it. You yield to the will of your inner holiness by following its gut knowing and inner voice. And you show up every day and take your step in trusting the divine flow of life. And you're standing for the light when you do that. And good things happen. The door to miracles opens. opportunity and goodness comes your way. So it's really an amazing thing, and you're putting yourself in the position to be shown, told, and led by your inner holiness instead of you telling it what it's allowed to be, or you're not going to accept it. That's what belief does in people's relationship to the divine, and that's kind of the difference between religion and spirit. Religion is man's worshiping a God outside of them through faith and belief, where spirit is man living the parable of Christ consciousness and being shown, told, and led from within, and you're willing to accept whatever God wants to tell you. Your inner holiness wants to tell you. Call it God, call it your inner divinity. It goes by 100 different names. I don't get hung up on names. So whatever it is to you is fine. But you have to see.
Question.
Yes.
Got a question. Got some questions here.
Okay.
Is this deep freeze part of the ascension process?
Deep breathing, yeah, it certainly is. Breathing is spirit, and you're flooding your being with spirit when you deep breathe, and it ascends you. It's very, very healthy for you. Oxygen is very good. And,
well, what about this weather business, the cold weather we're experiencing? Is that part of triggering to bring up old patterns so we can release them?
Certainly. Yeah, we've probably all been froze to death before. And, and it stretches you in that direction. We get stretched in the other direction by heat waves, and we get stretched in this direction with, polar vortex snowstorms. I'm so glad they don't last that long, a week, but that's a long time to go without electricity and water when it's 10 degrees.
Right.
So that's really tough. But yeah, it's just another direction we get stretched experiencing this. Another chance to purge stuff related to that cycle of life.
Okay, got a question here. Would you give us a few details on your 90-day detox regimen?
Yeah.
Who makes it, and how do you do it, and what are the results?
Yeah, I'll tell you about that real quick. There's a website called herbscancleanse.com. Big long word. herbscancleanse.com. And also I got their phone number if you prefer that. Let's see here. Okay, the herbscancleanse.com phone number is 877-437-2741. 877-437-2741. Now, if you've never detoxed herbally before, these things are powerful. If you're on a bunch of medications, I recommend you not even do it. You don't need to do this one. It'd be too harsh on you. But if you're in reasonably good health, if you're over 50, you need to do the kidney and liver detox first. And you want to get the functioning of your liver and kidneys built up before you dump the waste of the whole body on them. So you go through a bottle of kidney and liver, and then you get a bottle of whole body detox and colon detox. And for the average person...
Is that two separate ones, or is it whole body?
Whole body is a separate bottle from colon.
Okay.
And what I recommend is a person to do 2 whole body and 1 colon a day for the first month. And then you can go to 3 whole body and 2 colon the rest of the way through. Now, if you talk to those people at herbscancleanse.com, they're going to try to get you to take more. And I suppose it's because they sell more. But my main purpose in getting people started on a detox is you be able to do this without blowing yourself up. You know, I want you to be successful so that you'll do it again next year. If you have a bad experience with this, you will never want to do this again, and you'll want me to buy the rest of your product from you. I'm not going to buy it back from you. So start slow. If you got questions, start slower. And you got to find out where you're at, because this stuff it'll knock your socks off. It's powerful. Herbs have nutriments in them that foods do not have, and they do magical things to your organs, and it's actually the increased function of your organs that makes your body detox. And so it's going to cleanse massive amounts of waste and heavy metals out of your body. So you want it, the more toxic you are, the slower you got to go. Everybody has a starting point. You just have to find it without blowing yourself up at first, okay? So I want you to be cautious about this, and I don't want you to get cavalier about taking a bunch of this stuff at once. You'll be sorry, okay?
Okay. Another question here says, I've heard the current vaccine will disconnect humans from their source. Would you address this?
Well, that's not my knowing or understanding. That would just I don't want to tell people that. Here's the way I look at it. If you're not willing to be responsible for your personal health, if you're not going to quit eating bad foods, you're not going to take supplements, you're not going to take the yeast to protect your mucous membranes, then yes, you need to take the shot, and the sooner the better. But if you are a person that is responsible for their health and you have a good functioning immune system, you're taking the nutriments, you're eating a plant-based diet, you're taking the fermented yeast culture to protect the integrity of your mucous membranes, I think that you've tremendously lessened your likelihood of catching it. And if you do catch it, you're on the good end of having a light case to survive it. That's my thought. Especially for all the time they didn't have a vaccine, is what people should start doing. But, hey, this is not the last virulent we're going to face. Every year we have issues with colds and flus and sometimes an Ebola or whatever. But, we live in a world where you can get infected with viruses and bacteria. So why not protect your mucous membranes? That's how you catch it. You breathe it in. You eat it. It doesn't come through your skin. If it does, you get a lifetime immunity from it. But how you catch things is you breathe it in or you eat it, and this fermented yeast culture protects your mucous membranes from picking it up. And so that's why you need to do it. And it is a nutriment. It's high-quality proteins with minerals. It's not a drug. It does give us a natural herd immunity. And if people would be sincere about doing it and not just do it once or twice and leave the can in the counter and quit taking it, you got to be committed to this stuff. And if you're not willing to be responsible, please go take the shot. That would be my advice.
Okay. Got a question. How many days for the liver and kidney? And do you do that first and then the whole body and colon, number of days? It's like, are you doing liver and kidney the whole 90 days or just for the first 30?
Get a bottle of each one of those. Get a bottle of liver and a bottle of kidney and take it according to the instructions. And when you're finished with that, then you're ready for the whole body and the colon culture. Okay? You got to build up your liver and kidneys to handle the load of waste that's going to be released when you start doing the whole body and the colon.
Gotcha.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Well, we got to thank you for addressing the tough subjects. It's very much appreciated.
Well, I'm honored to share. And
okay. Well, we have about 5 minutes left. If there are any burning questions, let's send them on. But let me just tell you, if you want to book a private session with Dr. Dan, you can call him at 501-416-1996. I'll repeat, for private sessions that last about 1/2 hour, 501-416-1996. And
I don't text, so you got to call me. Yeah.
And if he leaves you a voicemail, listen to it, because he's going to be giving you the
appointment time. Yeah.
Okay. What age can children start taking the fermented yeast?
Well, I think once they get about 5 or 6, that they should be good with that. Like I say, it's just a nutriment. And you could, if they're a healthy kid, you might start a little earlier. You just have to, a half a teaspoon is an adult dose, so you might want to start with an 1/8 or a 1/16. Just start with a small dose, but they need to be 2 or 3 years old at least, and preferably, breastfed.
I've been looking into buying the big bags of it that they make for animals. It's kind of hard to find it around here, but I figure we could just pass it out
you can get
to everybody.
Yeah.
On Amazon? Okay.
Yeah. But, feed stores sell it. Their veterinarian supplier can get it. But that kind of stuff is slow right now. And 50 pounds is like a giant dog food bag, so you're going to have a bunch of it. And but I bought it like that a long time and took it, and it works just as good. Gave a lot of it away.
Okay. Well, Vicki Hyde says, thank you, Dr. Dan. This was really helpful and informative.
Well, I'm very honored to share, and we'll do it again next Thursday.
Next Thursday morning. Okay. Thank you,
right.
everyone. Turn off the recording now.
All right. Thank you.